Okay. Phew. Hello, everybody. I am so sorry for the late start. My last class ran a little long, and then I realized a huge mistake that I made in some of my dates and due dates and posts, and I had to go and correct that and change that all, which is going to be a huge mess, but I'm hoping that I have that now cleared up for you guys. And I do believe that I do. Huzzah! Hello and welcome. Welcome. If you would be so kind, let's punch up that welcome message and drop your name in the chat. Let me know who I'm talking to here today. So I'm hoping the late start does not deter people from coming. I know it's 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes. That's a long time. So thank you for being here. Christopher, hello, good afternoon. Simeon, Pat, and Braden, hello and good afternoon. Today is a big day as we're going to get into our project introduction. So we'll give another minute or so for some folks to pop in, and then we'll get moving. How's everyone's day going so far? Will and Jack, hello. Will, your segment, your Ranger video is in our morning show. It should be pushed out a little bit later this afternoon. Hi, Gianna's here. How am I today? I'm a little flustered, but I'm going to be better now. Jesse, hello. Good afternoon. I'm doing well. I'm a little bummed it's like crappy outside. Seems like every other day we get good weather or bad weather. So it was cloudy out yesterday, but it wasn't too cold, so I went for a nice walk. Today it looks like I'm going to be stuck inside, which I guess is okay. Maybe I'll get a jump on some grading. If I can give you guys the award, I just want to give a shout out to everyone that was in our class on Tuesday. See, this is part of the problem. I forget what day of the week it is. You guys were super supportive and wonderful to one another when we were screening our videos, and I just want to say thank you for that. That was really heartwarming to see. I was talking to a few teachers about, their success with Zoom meetings and stuff, and it can be hit or miss, but I was really happy to brag about you guys for being so awesome. So thank you. I'll give you my little happy dance. Not me, someone else. Jess, so that was my mentality as well. Like sometimes on a weekend when I'm like, when it's crappy out, I just go, oh my God, it's so bad out. I guess I can't go outside. And then I'll stay inside and read or play video games or watch TV. And then you're right, I don't feel bad about it. When it's nice out, I'm like, oh, I probably should go outside. And then I feel bad for not going outside. And I feel like that might change after this whole ordeal, because even on nice days, I can go outside. I just can't go anywhere, Time for a walk? Is it a walk time? Should I knock on the door too? Here, I'll bring the mic down low. Let me know if your dog freaked out. And if they did, I'm really sorry. I should not have done that. Bike rides are awesome, Braden. I have a bike. Actually, you can see it hanging in the back over there. That I took out once, and then I realized I'm not suited out for that type of riding anymore. Like that's a road bike, so like it's got the really skinny wheels and it's got the curled handlebars and the gears shifter. It's nuts. Because I used to be really into riding, and I haven't done it in a very long time. So I think I need to invest in like a mountain bike or something that's just a little bit easier to ride than that thing. Favorite vacation spot? I don't know if I have a favorite vacation spot. I don't know. I haven't taken a lot of vacations, so maybe that's why. I just like hanging out with my family. So anytime we meet with family in a big gathering, that's usually my go-to. Well, you know what, Gianna? You're in luck, and I'm going to use that as an opportunity to make sure that we stay on task, because this has been running a little bit long in my other classes. So that is a perfect segue into our topic of conversation today, which is our project introduction. And maybe someone out there will be able to help Gianna learn how to ride a bike. So let's get into it. All right, now, the name of the game this time around is, of course, adding to our production workflow, all right, which is going to mean that we're going to be shooting some video, of course, but it also means that we need to or at least I need to redesign the workflow so that it makes sense for us to do in this capacity. Excuse me. It was bad enough that I had a hard time kind of generating something that could be done at home that was like infinitely scalable so that it can be something really small or something really grandiose and everywhere in between, because I know not everyone has the same situation at home. And so that was kind of a challenging. And when I finally landed on something and started to map that out, I was like, all right, I feel really good about this. And then realized that our production workflow is so different now than what it would be in class. And so I didn't want to say, all right, well, let's just use the same workflow, because, coming up with an idea and then a treatment and then storyboards and a shot list just doesn't really seem like an apt way to go about doing this. And so I tried to condense as much of that pre-production stuff into a simple assignment that I'll go over today. All right, I'll assign it today, but you'll have an understanding of how that is essentially our pre-production work for our video project. Now, I'm going to be jumping over to my desktop. I will be checking periodically in on the stream to make sure that it's connected. But also, if you guys have questions, throw them in there. I'll try and give as much warning as possible that I'm going to wrap up an area and move on to something else. So if you have questions, you can throw them in ahead of time. But let's get into this shooting project. I'm sorry I didn't have a more creative name for it. It does have a more creative name. I just didn't put it as the lead in. So video time, finally. All right, we get to work. We know a little bit more comfortable with WeVideo, and I'm hoping now we can go back to our roots and start shooting some content that that you're going to sit down and edit later. All right, and so this presentation for you guys today isn't necessarily content related as it pertains to the project. You already know your content for this project, but what I wanted to do is kind of help you map out and build out this idea in a meaningful way. And so this is kind of becomes a nice blueprint roadmap for you guys, all right, to make sure that your project is as successful as possible. All right. So in this video project, you are going to act as the expert on a subject of your choosing. Okay. It could be anything. It could be something really small. It could be something really huge. It doesn't necessarily matter. It could be riding a bike. But the idea here is that you are going to act as the confident, authoritative figure on how to do something in the best possible way. All right, now I want you to try and act the expert, but it doesn't mean you need to be the expert. All right, figure experts are at the top of their field. And I don't expect anyone to be at the top of their field at something, but all of you should be able to say that you're really good at something, and it doesn't matter how big or small that is, all right? So for our first project, you're going to be creating a 2 to 2.5, man, I really should change that, it's the third time now, minute how-to video on a subject of your choosing. And so like I said, it can range from something really simple to something really complex. It depends on where your skill set lies. All right. And then logistics, of course, dictate it's going to rely a little bit on your surrounding environment. And I have a whole page of examples that I can list real quick, and they're all things you can do in and around the house, which is really exciting. All right, I'll go through the video stipulations at the end. All right, I have those as a separate project sheet. But like I said, today is also the day where I'm going to help you guys map out your concept. All right, and part of this pre-production process will be due next class. All right, so we'll talk about that in a bit as well. So step one is just trying to generate, even now, maybe your brain's already gone, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Is to come up with an idea that we can build out. And you're going to hear me use that expression a lot, build out, because you may have an idea that is really simple, and that's okay. And you may find that, well, wait a minute, if my idea is simple, it means that there's not a lot of steps, and maybe I don't have a lot of stuff to show in the video, but the video needs to be 2.5 minutes. So what do? Well, that's what today's for. Today's going to be about building it out. And so I know that coming up with an idea can be tough, but keep the rhetorical question on the back burner. just by asking yourself, what are you really good at? All right. And I'm sure everyone has at least several or one skill that they can say, hey, you know what? It may be silly, but I'm really good at this. And it doesn't matter how small you think it is or how big you think it is, okay? So scale shouldn't be an object. And I don't want you to don't think and worry and go, oh, no, my idea is really silly, but even though I'm really good at it, I don't want to do it because I'm embarrassed. Should be no room for embarrassment, all right? So here's a list of stuff I came up with that you can do around the house. You can use these. You can use something else, obviously. But maybe you're really good at brushing your teeth, doing your makeup, making a bed, playing video games, cooking or baking, drawing or painting, cleaning and organizing, working out or exercising, helping others, taking pictures, folding clothes. Maybe you're really good at doing math homework. Cool. Crossword puzzles, games and puzzles, playing an instrument or singing, dancing, collecting things, writing, picking out an outfit, reading, etc. This list can go on and on and on. But these were just like little things. I literally sat in my house and just kind of looked around and said, oh, that, oh, that, oh, that, oh, that. I do that. These are all you can do most of these things within the four walls and roof in which you reside. Maybe you venture out in the backyard, front yard, riding the bike, might be in the driveway, but that could be something that works. Again, scalability here is really important, and it doesn't matter on your end if you land on something that you think is really silly or small. If you want to do a 2-minute video on the best ways to brush your teeth, awesome, cool, that's fine, because people are going to look for this. And if you're stumped on things, try and look for things that are kind of within your wheelhouse. What do you like to do? And then start to go to Google, go to YouTube, how to, and just wait for that list to pop up. There's going to be trillions of things that come up. And when you start to narrow down things that you like at the end of how to, you might come up with some really good ideas. All right. That being said, there's essentially a how-to video for virtually everything. All right. But we want ours to stand above all of those that are already out there. All right. And part of that's going to stem with how you present yourself in your video. All right. You may not be the top of the top tier expert. All right. But you're going to act like one on camera, because if you're confident in what you're saying and we believe you, then why would we not follow your how-to tips and demonstration? All right. If we don't believe you, if you're like, I'm really good at brushing my teeth, I don't believe that for a second. But if you're like, hey, I'm really great at brushing my teeth and I want to show you how you can get your teeth the cleanest, I'll believe that immediately. All right. So you may not be the expert, but you're going to play one on TV. All right. You just need to be really, really good at it. So let's build out this idea. Whoops, wrong way. Okay. So once you flesh out that concept, all right, we can look to a few things to build out. All right. So first, answer that question. I'm really good at blank. All right. How can we round out this blank? Well, maybe, depending on the complexity of what it is you're showing, I always say look to history as a means to start. Okay, a lot of videos like this, you may introduce yourself as the foremost expert, and which is perfectly fine. All right, you can give an introduction of yourself, and you should. But if your steps aren't that complicated, you might want to talk a little bit about the historical context in what you're doing. All right, or find some statistical data in what you're doing. Did you know that 17% of all adults don't know how to ride a bike? Well, today I'm going to show you the best ways to get right. I made that up. That's not true. But like even dropping that, if people go, oh, really? Okay. Like they're going to feel better about themselves for watching this video and figuring out how to ride a bike when they know they're in good company. Little things like that go a long way. Discuss your plan. All right. You're going to show your plan, but you might want to discuss it and summarize it quickly first to let people know what to look out for. This could very simply be a shot of you just listing the steps, all right, that you're going to go walk them through. And then afterwards, we see those steps in a little bit more detail. And a great way to wrap up that video, or at least post the how-to process, tips and tricks are a great way to kind of say, hey, this is what I like to do in this particular instance. Maybe it'll work for you. These are some alternatives you can try. If you're unsuccessful this way, try it this way. Or very simply encourage people. Hey, now that you know how to ride a bike, or we've gone through the steps together, go out to the garage, blow off the dust, get on that two-wheel beast, and try your hardest, because with practice, you will nail it. Thanks for watching. See you later. it could be that simple to build something out. We're not talking about adding minutes here. We're talking about adding 10, 12, 15 seconds, right? I don't want the whole history of bicycles. I just want a little factoid or a little bit of history there. 15, 20 seconds is more than enough. So if we were to take an example and stop poking fun at Gianna, all right, I said to myself, okay, well, what's something that I'm really good at that can make for a really simple demonstration video, how-to video? And I like to cook a lot, and I've been doing way more of it lately, but there's something to be said about comfort food, especially on a really crappy day like today. And I said, you know what? Today is a perfect day to curl up on the couch with a cup of soup and then a perfectly made grilled cheese sandwich. So I said, okay, well, I'm really good at making grilled cheese. That's not a statement that says I make the best grilled cheese in the world or I'm better at making grilled cheese than anybody. All right, there's a very subtle difference there. I'm really good at making it. And that's enough to give me the confidence I know that I can tell people the instructions and ways that I go about it to make grilled cheese as well as I do. Okay, so that's our blank. We filled in that blank. I'm really good at making grilled cheese. Cool. Let's build it out. Okay, so I came up with 5 steps in my video, and I don't even get to the how-to until I'm halfway through. Now, depending on your idea or concept or how you fill in that blank, it's going to be a little bit different. And I'll show you in the next example how it's a little bit different. So I might start off after I introduce myself and what we're going to watch in this video, a little bit of the history of the grilled cheese sandwich. And that may sound really silly, but if it only takes me 30 seconds to show people how to make a grilled cheese sandwich, I got to build out this video a little bit to hit that time mark. So I might talk a little bit about that history. I don't have any stats on grilled cheese, I'm sorry, but a 2-minute Wikipedia entry read on grilled cheese gave me enough that if I needed to drop some stuff, I certainly can. Right? Did you know that grilled cheese was invented by a naval chef as a way to create a very quick mass-produced meal? He can make a whole bunch of grilled cheese sandwiches at once for his whole fleet. I didn't, but now you do, and that would be a cool way to introduce what you're going to do, because when you give people a little bit of even trivial information, they go, oh, I didn't know that. Boom, they're hooked, they're in, they want to see the rest of your video. All right. Did you know that grilled cheese became popular in the 30s and 40s as a Depression-era food because it was really inexpensive to make? All right. And hot meals were hard to come by. So having hot bread and cheese was essentially a very quick and painless way to have a decent meal. All right. Cheese also was a government subsidized food, meaning, as maybe people are familiar with the process of getting food stamps, which is aid from the government in order to get necessary food items for your family if you're below a certain economic level. The government back then used to give out blocks of cheese to people in those lower income brackets. And so it became a way to have a meal with food provided to you without having to pay for it. Now, I can go on and on about how it kind of dipped in popularity but came back in the 80s and 90s, and that's not really relevant. The fact is that I can talk for 3 to 4 minutes about grilled cheese. Okay, awesome. More information than you ever need to know. But if I have 3 to 4 minutes of grilled cheese info, I can whittle down to the best parts of that and get it out in 20, 30 seconds. Cool. All right. Step 2. Let's get into the ingredients as well as preferences. So I might talk about the things that I need in order to make this sandwich. And I don't mean just the food ingredients. I mean the utensils as things and things as well. And I might explain why I chose the ones that I did. Okay? Like I might explain why I'm choosing a rubber spatula versus a metal spatula. And it may sound simple, and most people that like to cook know that, well, if I use a metal spatula on a metal flat top, it's going to scrape it, and that's not good. People that don't know how to cook might not make that connection. So while it's easy for me to know that, it might be new information for someone else. Finally, step 3, this is where we're actually getting to the how-to. This is the step-by-step process of making the grilled cheese. Step 1. Butter up the bread, get that cheese on there, move through those steps there. But really, like, we're halfway through our video and now we're starting the how-to. Once that is done, or you can do it while you're making it to elongate step 3, but I can discuss alternatives to mix up if you want to try different things or if you want to adapt to, say, different ingredients. So I like to use butter on my grilled cheese, but If you don't have any in the house or you're looking for something a little bit healthier, you can use margarine. You can use low-fat mayonnaise. These are all options that pertain to you or to your certain situation. If you don't have those ingredients around, you're providing a list of alternatives. And if you don't know, look them up. Find some recipes, see what's common out there. You might have to take 10 minutes and do some research, but if it buys you 15 seconds in your video, it's worth it. All right. And then finally, I would wrap up by enjoying that grilled cheese sandwich. All right. And then encouraging people to try it at home using these tips that we went over today. I hope you enjoy your sandwich. See you later. And I would have made a video to demonstrate this, but my kitchen is gross and I didn't want to clean it for the sake of having it look nice in a video. All right, example number 2. I'm going to move through this one a little bit quicker, but then I'm going to bounce back to the chat and see if you guys have any questions. So if you have them, throw them in there, and then I'll move on to the pre-production worksheet. All right, let's say you like to dance or you are a dancer. I'm really good at dancing to pop music. I actually thought about, I'm really good at dancing, but I knew right away my initial question or follow-up question to that is, well, what kind of dancing? Right? Maybe I'm good at swing dancing, and that's very different than dancing to pop music. So I just made sure to specify I'm really good at dancing to pop music. I'm not, okay? But for an example, I figured I'd mix it up a little bit to just show that I'm going to try and build something out that I have no expertise in. All right. So I might open this again, 5 steps, and talk about the style of dance that I'm going to demonstrate, when it came about, who were the popular artists or who are the popular artists at the forefront of making this a style of music that is infinitely danceable, right? And I can show snippets or pictures of them and maybe even video clips of their music videos and stuff if I want to put that in my edit. Awesome. All right. I'm going to tell people what they're going to need to follow along or practice. And these could be just simple advice and guidelines, right? Make sure you're wearing comfortable clothing. I would make sure you're on a non-slip surface, or if you're doing it on the carpet inside, make sure you have shoes on so you don't slip. I'm sure trying to dance in socks on carpet is just a nightmare. Make sure you've got space around you, move tables and chairs or breakable things on the off chance you get carried away and just knock over a vase or something. Okay, I'm going to outline the steps that I am teaching, or the dance that I'm teaching, what it's based on, and what I'm going to use for music, what versus what they can use for music. Maybe, the tempo, rhythm, or time signature in this song is pretty popular. So if you find another song with the same tempo and time signature, you're good. I apologize. My music terminology is not that strong as I am not a musician. Again, out of 5 steps, it took to step 4 for me to actually get to the how-to. This is where I'm going to show the steps and moves. All right. And then at the end of that, once we piece it all together, you can discuss some variations of that dance and how it can be mixed up. Whoops, I keep going the wrong way there. Oh my God, the chat is blowing up. Not really. Okay. How to read a book with your eyes closed. Probably wouldn't recommend it. Oh, Ryan, gross. I kind of like my eyelids. Thank you. Blessing, I'm not sure when you came in, but you can always go back to the beginning and watch through until you're caught up. Matt, I'm going to say good afternoon, as 12:19 in the afternoon is not morning, but if you just woke up, thank you for joining us. Chris, I refuse, and Jess, refuse to believe that you are not good at something. There's has to be something that you're good at. There has to. It doesn't matter the scale. Doesn't matter how big or small, right? So one of my TV3 class yesterday was like, I'm really good at horseback riding. Okay. And she lives on a farm with horses. So she's okay. Awesome. Like, I don't expect anyone here to like hit that level, but that would be like, wow, that's a really grandiose thing to be good at. So sure. Do that. So start looking at hobbies and interests and things that you would do normally and think of where your skill lies in comparison to some other people, Like, Chris, there's got to be some, not to pigeonhole you, but being a theatrically inclined person, where were your skills on stage compared to other people? Right? Maybe you're really good at memorizing lines where other people had trouble with that. Well, how do you go about memorizing lines? Like, how do you set that up so that you are successful with that? Start to think that stuff through. There it is. Okay. So, did I get through this part correctly? I did. All right. So as far as the pre-production part of this, all right, let's start to map it out. Okay. Now, this presentation and all the worksheets I'm going to show today are going to be put up on Google Classroom in like 12 seconds. All right. So they'll be there for you, and they'll be there when I'm done. It just might help for me to go through them with you so you know what you're looking at. All right. And I'm going to start with the pre-production worksheet now. This is what's going to be due by next class, but I got a little footnote there. All right. Because traditionally our assignments are due at the start of class, so we can go over them together. However, this one is going to be due at the end of next class. So if we assign it today and we don't have class again until Monday, all right, it's going to be due by 1 o'clock on Monday, and that's going to allow that hour of time we have together for us to work through these together if people need help or need assistance. All right, you're more than welcome to be like, Mr. Leonard, I got it, I'm good, turn it in, cool, see you later, get started on the next phase, which is production, shooting. All right, but it will dedicate an hour of time that we have together, and also help you guys out moving through the worksheet. So that's not the right one. Let's go to this one. Okay. So this is what is this is one of the 3 things put on Classroom for you. All right. Our pre-production worksheet. And it starts off just like we started off our question today. I'm really good at fill in that blank. All right. Again, doesn't matter how small or large you think it is, how silly it may be. If you're really good at something, boom, there it is. Okay. And that's going to help us flesh out the rest. Now I broke it down into different parts. And that way, if you come to class on Monday and say, hey, Mr. Leonard, I got the process. I got part 2 down, but I'm having some trouble on part 1. Do you have any suggestions? Cool. Let me take a look at your thing and we'll go from there. So it's hopefully try and replicate me being able to, give this in class and walk around and spend time with you if we're having some issues. So let's move through this. All right, part 1 has 3 questions. Question 1, list some background on your skill. All right, now this can be both, in the examples we talked about today, it could be historical information, it could be statistical information, as well as how you came to be. I realize I don't have my desktop open. I'm sorry. I had a feeling. There we go. That's so much better now. Okay, now that you can see the worksheet that I'm talking about. All right, here it is at the top. I'm really good at blank. Fill in that blank. Okay, part 1. Listing your background, historical, statistical, or a personal story. How did you become the expert in this skill set? Like, what's your background? If you were to say, the example I used yesterday was if you want to demonstrate how to do the perfect jump shot. Maybe you got a basketball net in your driveway, and you've been playing since you were 2, with your little Fisher-Price thing and the playpen, and then you took it outside, and then you joined a rec league and you play for the school. Like, there's a history there that solidifies you as someone that we can trust to know what they're talking about. I'm going to trust the person that's been playing basketball for 10 years over the person that just picked it up. Heck, I would trust the person that's been playing basketball for 2 months over the person that's never shot a basketball in their life. So you can build your credibility there by talking about how you came to be the expert of the subject. All right, question 2, list the objects you'll need to make the video. And by this, I mean every object you need outside of the video equipment. You don't need to put your Chromebook and phone and that stuff doesn't matter as much. So if I go back to my grilled cheese example, I need bread and cheese and butter and stove and a pan and a spatula. And that may seem really silly to list out that methodically, but if I know that I have a grilled cheese pan I want to use, and I do, I got to make sure it's clean. I got to make sure it's not in the dishwasher. Same with the spatula, like little things like that can become really important. And as you build this out and maybe realize you forgot 1 or 2 things, you can go back up and add them to this list. You don't want to realize in the middle of shooting your video that you don't have something you need, or you totally forgot something and it's a really important step. You want to be thorough with this. All right. And then 3, explain why your way of doing it is the best way. This is where you're going to sell us, all right, on your ability to do what it is you do better than most people. All right. Again, personal stories add to the video and make you a more relatable expert. This is going to be the reason why people are going to want to watch you do it versus someone else do it. So try and have a really compelling reason. All right. Part 2 is simply the process. All right. Explain the steps you'll go through in the video when showing your skill. All right. I'm going to ask that you try and stretch it to 5 steps. If you need more, use more. All right. But explain in complete sentences. The reason why I'm asking for complete sentences is because when you generate those sentences, those word tracks are probably going to find their way into your video a little bit easier. This is essentially kind of your script for the demonstration part, right? So step 1, in making a grilled cheese sandwich, I want to make sure I have all the necessary requirements down. I've got my bread over here. I've got my cheese. My pan is ready to go, and it's already preheated as my flame on the oven is low. So let's get into step 2, prepping our food. I got my bread out. I got my cheese open and ready to go. I've got my butter here that I'm going to spread on to the first. You know what? Hold on. Let's go back up to the top. I didn't add knife. How am I going to spread that butter? So let's add knife. Okay, cool. Not spatula knife, spatula, comma, knife. Now, if I didn't work through the process here out loud or in writing, I would have forgotten that and then not listed that before. And then just work through the steps of your process. Add more if you need to. Okay. And then the last 2 questions for part 2. All right, what are some parts of the steps that people can adjust or change if they need to? Again, example, grilled cheese. If I don't have butter, I can use mayo. If I prefer to use something a little bit less fatty, a little bit less salty, I can use like a canola spread. I can't believe it's not butter, or a low-fat mayo. So those are good things to list as alternatives. All right. Any special tips and tricks you've picked up on your craft that you can share? Now, this is just kind of from your personal viewpoint. You might explain something, explain how to do something that 99% of people are probably going to do the same way, but you may have a variation of that based on your experience, you can kind of share with people. And this is what will make your how-to a little bit more unique. So I know that if I'm in a hurry, sometimes I don't have the patience to wait for my grilled cheese to be done. So I'll take a pot lid, a domed one, and I will put it on the pan over the sandwich so that it traps the heat in and it will melt the cheese a little bit quicker. Now, the downside is that my grilled cheese sandwich isn't as toasty or crisp. It's a little bit softer, but I get my sandwich a little bit quicker. So that's an option that you can do if you want to speed up the process a little bit and you don't mind taking a small hit on quality. Part 3 is the shoot. This is where you're going to map out, yep, I've got them, required shots. Okay. Now, this list is based on a few things that would be commonly found in this style of video. All right. But also as a reminder that you should put thought into what you're shooting and how you're shooting it. All right, we want to try and avoid as much as possible the aimless, just kind of walking around and pointing with a phone cam. We want to have structured shots to our video. So I'm going to ask for this video that you use a close-up, an extreme close-up, a medium shot, a tracking or dolly shot, and a top-down shot. And I'll explain those last 2 in a sec. But in this part of the worksheet, you're going to essentially, this becomes your shot list for those 5 shots. What are we seeing a close-up of? What are we seeing an extreme close-up of? You're going to fill that out there. That's pretty self-explanatory. All right, the last 2, your tracking and dolly shot. All right. Now, we're used to a tracking or dolly shot being a grandiose camera movement, right? If we're following a subject down the hallway, for example, right, we got that camera up. Right, and we're doing this we're following them for long periods of time. We obviously want to scale that down depending on what you're doing. So use smaller gestures. If, for example, I was doing a how-to video on how to set up a microphone, a computer, and soundboard for a YouTube live stream, I'm going to get some close-up shots of my equipment because they look really cool. But I need a tracking or dolly shot. So maybe if I have my phone out and of course I hold it horizontally and then press record, I'm going to get a shot of this microphone. I'm going to get a tracking shot of my microphone. We'll go full frame for it. That's it. It's just a simple little arc around it. It doesn't need to be huge. It doesn't need to be super dynamic. Even if I wanted to do a dolly, that's it. That's it. I'm moving maybe 2, 3, 4 inches. I don't need to move 10, 20, 30 feet. All right. So it can be simple like that. Top down is pretty self-explanatory. It's a type of bird's eye because the camera is way above the subject, but in this case, it's way above the subject, and instead of angled down, it's looking straight down. All right, so if I'm getting a top down of the microphone, my camera is going to be here. All right, the only problem is I can't see the screen very well. So you're going to list what we're seeing in each of those shots here. The last part is pretty simple because it just encompasses the edit, and there's only so much you can plan for your edit. But I'm asking here to try and think of your title ahead of time, and that way you won't have to worry about being stumped when your edit's finished and you're like, oh God, what do I call this thing? So just try and think of a fun title. If I was doing grilled cheese, it would be something like, I don't know, keeping it cheesy, sleazy and cheesy. I don't know, something that's creative and interesting and fun and not just how to make a grilled cheese sandwich. We want it to be unique, all right? So I'm going to pause here for a sec before I go over the project stipulations. I'm just going to check in the chat real quick, see how we're all doing. Ho ho. Blessing, if you're behind, okay, you can always rewind to the start and watch from there. All right. You'll just have to, like, if I end the stream, the video is still going to be there. All right, so if you need to rewind to where you need to start getting the beginning of the information, and then you'll catch up. All right, so don't feel bad if you're like rewinding a little bit to catch stuff you missed. I'd rather have you do that than be lost. And thank you to the person that added a like to YouTube. Okay, video production steps. Whoopsie. Okay, so our how-to demonstration video, of course, our objective and goals are similar but slightly different. Our objective is to finalize and create an entertaining video that also informs people how to do a task that you will act as the expert in. All right, but the goal in making this video is to apply our video production skills across all facets of production, to reach an audience with an intended message, and to understand the workflow process for getting video from source to destination. And this time around, your source is going to be your camera and your destination is WeVideo. And how you categorize your camera will dictate how you start your workflow. For most of us, if we don't have camera equipment at home, and I don't expect you to, of course, we're going to use our phones because I think that's the easiest way to have a camera in your hand whenever you need it. The process for getting it to WeVideo is not complicated at all. It just takes a little bit of time. So you want to shoot that video on your phone and you want to upload it to Google Drive. So you do want to make sure that you have the Google Drive app on your phone. All right. When you go back into WeVideo, you're going to go into the project, and I'm going to create a project for everybody. There won't be any added media this time around, but you'll have a project created for you. So same as before. All right, go into your WeVideo, go to projects, go to shared with me, and you'll see how to TV1 4B. You'll click into that. You'll go to your media tab. You'll go to import, and then you'll select the folder from Drive. That's pretty simple. I'm going to talk about that next class. And then you should be good to go. All right. Now, the requirements for the video itself are a little bit softer, but a little bit beefier than last time as well. All right. There's a 15 shot minimum, and I'd be willing to wager that that's going to be rather low. You're probably going to have more, and that's perfectly fine. All right. Figure if you've got an intro, an outro, at least 5 steps, probably a few other things that you're going to show, you're going to hit 7 or 8 or 9 shots without even thinking of going, okay, how do I add more? So you're almost 2/3 of the way there right away. And that includes the following shots, okay? So the close-up, the extreme close-up, medium shot, tracking or dolly, and the top-down bird's eye shot. given that we're doing step-by-step instructions on something, all right, we're probably going to end up using more text, and I want you to use that as a way to break up the different steps. So if you have a title and credits, which are mainstay, and you have 5 steps, boom, there's the other requirement, 7 uses of text. That may seem like a lot, but I think you'll find it's really not that much at all. And if you use more, cool. Like there's no limit. I'm not saying you can't use more than 10, but use at least 7. We already talked about the creative title. All right, we already talked about credits going in here as well. I need you to use at least one song, but mixed well. All right, this is going to be an instance where you're going to add music to the background of your video so that it's a little bit more engaging to your audience, but you also might be describing the steps of something as well. So you're really going to have to pay attention to your audio tracks and video tracks that have the audio in there. So you might be doing a little bit more keyframing in your video as well. All right. You need to appear in the video in some capacity. Now, this is going to fluctuate based on what your concept or idea is. And so if you have a how-to where you are performing an action, like let's say you're doing how to dance or how to do that jump shot, you're going to be in the video more than some other people that are maybe they're doing a cooking demonstration. Well, we can get away with doing a lot of cooking shots and not necessarily need to see me as much. But one, you're going to build credibility by appearing on camera. Two, it's been a long time since we've all seen each other, and I got really excited when we watched Blessing's video in class the other day because when Blessing's in the chat and he's asking questions, of course, I'm picturing Blessing, but it was so nice to see him that it would be wonderful to see all of you as well. So that's like the hidden secret reason. The main reason being is that it will add credibility to your video if you appear on camera. All right, and we know the runtime to be 2 to 2.5 minutes. So a 30-second window should be enough to make this concise and digestible and give you the leeway you need to wrap up with without going over or under. All right, now let's check the chat. Can we add humor? Of course you can add humor. Absolutely. In fact, that's one of my tips at the end. But let me explain the schedule as I wouldn't say it's wonky, but it's going to be a little bit different. So the pre-production worksheet, which is this worksheet here, it's up on Classroom, all right, is going to be due by the end of next class. All right, I said that before, but it bears repeating. It's not due at the start of, it's due at the end so that we can come together on our stream. We can help each other out with it. We can support each other in the chat, answer questions for one another, and I can help guide you through some things if you're stuck on part of it or need help with part of it. Okay, so that'll be assigned today, due at the end of class on Monday. I want to make sure I get my days right. After that is when things get a little bit different because I did kind of struggle with, well, how long do I give for this project? How long did it take people to do the other project? And thankfully, with WeVideo, I was able to go in and see how long people spent on their edits, like to the timestamp. And I'm like, this is really helpful, actually, analytical information. So cool. All right, I can use that as a factor. Now, this video is a little bit more involved, okay, because while the idea is outlined for you, you have to fill in some of those blanks and then shoot this and then import this and edit. And I do feel confident that the editing part, you're going to move quicker through this time around than you did last time. So I've allocated what would be 2 class times for production, all right, which is where you go shoot that stuff, all right, and 2 classes dedicated for what would be post-production. So 4 classes where you've got the time to go shoot and edit. Now, let's just look at that. 4 classes, you can argue 4 hours worth of time. This video is either going to take 4 hours, it's going to take less than, it's going to take more than. But here's how I want you to wrap your head conceptually around what that means. So we'll meet Monday to go over our worksheet, due at the end of class. All right, and of course, I will have streams set up for our our production days as well. So that Wednesday and Friday, I'm going to do a stream. And that way, if people want to come and need help with stuff, I'm here. And if they have questions on things, I'm here. And if they want to go work on stuff, go work on stuff. What that doesn't mean, however, is that's not, oh, we don't have class today. when you guys decide on what it is that you're going to do for your video, you need to start to think about, okay, when's the best time to shoot this? And it might not be from 12 to 1 on Wednesday. I understand that. Okay, it might be from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Maybe you're telling us how to make your famous, I don't know, mashed potatoes, and you're going to make them for dinner that night, so you might as well shoot while you're prepping for dinner. Kill two birds with one stone, right? Help out the family, make some food, boom, shoot for your video. Awesome. I would then use this hour that we have together to do work for other classes so you don't have to do that later. All right, this is going to put a little bit more onus on you guys to be really, really responsible about how you manage your time. There were way too many people that were emailing me Saturday and Sunday nights before the project was due on Monday, the last one. And I'm going, you're asking me at 9 o'clock on Sunday, the day before the project's due, why you don't have clips in shared media? Well, it's because you didn't make the project the right way. And here's, like, we don't want to be in that situation, okay? So be really smart and responsible with your time. It's one of the extra challenges, not only to this project, but as you guys know, doing stuff from home, is that you need to manage yourself and budget your time really wisely. All right. So I'm hoping that we do that. So we've got 2 classes dedicated to shooting time and 2 classes dedicating to edit time. I'll pop up my calendar just so we can see what that looks like together. All right. Today's the 30th. Our pre-production worksheets due at the end of class on Monday the 4th. The 6th and the 8th would be the shooting times, and the 12th and the 14th would be the structured edit times. All right. Now, what I haven't decided yet, to be transparent, is the project due at the end of class on the 14th or by the start of class on the 18th? I don't know yet. I'm leaning on the latter. I'm going to make it the latter. That's our dedicated time to edit. It's going to be due by the start of class on the 18th. That should give you way more than enough time for this to be done. Let's hide that calendar. Okay. So let's get to some tips real quick, and then I'll bounce back to the chat, see if you guys have questions, and we'll dig into Ryan's question of, can we be weird? Of course we can be weird. Weird is preferred. All right. First tip, complete the pre-production worksheet. All right. It should go without saying because it's a homework assignment that you need to do it, but do it the right way. Be thorough with it. This is your blueprint for what your video is going to look like. All right. As we know, pre-production helps get these ideas here so that we don't forget anything while we're shooting, and then we're not in a bind when we're editing. So be thorough with the worksheet. As much as possible, I understand that not everyone has, professional gear at home. I've got my webcam on a tripod that's on my dining room table. You may not have a tripod at all, and it's probably even rarer to have a tripod for your phone. I don't have one. I do have like this little guy, but this doesn't really help me either because I can't screw into my phone. But one of the things I'm trying to curb people from doing, as it happened with my morning show anchor for our show today, is there are a lot of people that are like leaning their phone up on their Chromebook and then reading it, which is what I had you guys do for your news segment, if you recall. However, we want this to look as nice as possible. And part of that is going to be getting this camera eye level with your face as often and as much as possible, especially if you're addressing the camera. So I can look right at the camera and talk to you guys, all right, and it looks much better eye to eye than it would be as if it were down here and it was constantly looking up at me, all right? And I know it sounds terrible and maybe even a little superficial, but when you're looking down and the camera's looking up, all right, you tend to get shadows on your face that the camera sees because the light's coming from up top, all right? You also, if you're me, you get that double chin thing going. It's not a very flattering look, all right? So if I'm demonstrating how to make grilled cheese, there are probably a dozen places in my kitchen that I can prop my phone up against, so at least it's a little bit higher up. Think about that when you're recording yourself address the camera. All right, all the more reason to map out what you want to say so you don't have to worry so much about reading anything. You can kind of just shoot from the hip a little bit, all right? Your script doesn't need to be so structured that if you're off by a word, it's not a big deal. Okay. A allow for a longer time to upload to Drive and then import to WeVideo. If you're shooting in your phone and you're going to be shooting over a couple days, upload in chunks. Upload day 1, get it up there. Day 2, get it up there. If you're making mashed potatoes and you're shooting it all in one fell swoop, cool, get it all up there. Just know it's going to take a little bit of time for it to go from the phone to Google, for Google to process it, and then for WeVideo to import it. All right, that's not a huge deal, but it's one of those things where if you're, coming down to crunch time, it might take a while and there's nothing you can do to speed that up. Okay. On that note, to help you out, and I apologize, Android users, I only have an iPhone. I'm sure there are similar settings on an Android phone. There is no reason, and it'll help you in the long run, to shoot this at the default quality that the iPhone may suggest. So if you've never changed your camera settings on your phone, you may want to tweak that. While it's great, I guess, that this tiny phone with very small sensor can shoot 4K video, I don't need to shoot 4K video for this project, and I wouldn't recommend that you do it either. In fact, I would take it to the lowest setting on the phone itself. So if you go into your settings and go into your camera settings and you can adjust the resolution, the lowest setting is 720 at 30 frames a second. Shoot that, okay? It'll take less time to upload, it'll take less time for Google to transcode, and it'll take less time for WeVideo to bring it into its platform. It'll also play back a lot better, all right, because there's less data there. So it'll help you move quicker, it'll take up less storage space on your phone. And if you remember from your export in WeVideo the other day, you can only export at 720. So it doesn't really benefit as much to shoot at 1080 at 60 when we can shoot at 720 by 30, and it'll help you in the long run. So I would encourage that. And listen, if you have it set to 4K because that's what you want to capture when you're fooling around with friends, is cool. Like, set it back after, but when you're shooting this, that would be my recommendation. All right. And to answer Ryan's question, because it's actually on my sheet here, I want you to have fun with it, and I want you to be silly with it, but balance that silly and professional demeanor. And I think there's a really easy way to do that. If you want to be silly on camera and have a really silly topic and inject your silly personality and humor, do it. But make sure the video is freaking awesome. Like, if you want to split silly professional, silly content, professional video. All right. Your shots should look good. You should have good camera angles, good camera movement. Your edit should be flawless, especially when it comes to audio. No jump cuts, excellent titles. Okay. That's where you want that polish and professionalism. If you want to be a goofball on camera, yes, of course, because it's going to make it fun to watch. But a fun to watch person being silly and a poorly made video, people will go, all right, yeah, no, they're silly, but this looks bad. If it looks great and you're silly, we're more inclined to want to watch that. All right, so that would be my advice there. I'm going to bounce back to the cam and the chat as we're almost out of time, but realistically, gang, and I know that was a lot because I talked for a lot longer than I thought I was going to have to. I just wanted to make sure I was really thorough with stuff, as introducing a project this way, of course, is relatively new. Does anyone have any, as I'm getting caught up on the chat, any questions, comments, concerns before we wrap on the day? Oh, Blessing left. Oh, that's sad. Okay, but that's good. I'm glad he was honest and let me know. Can we do bloopers at the end? That's my favorite part of all projects. Lulz. I'm kind of torn on it. For a couple of reasons. One, well, we never really defined what a blooper is per se. There were a lot of people in class, as you may recall, that did bloopers very poorly because they thought them accidentally leaving the camera on while they walked around the hall for 4 minutes was a blooper. That wasn't funny. That's not funny at all. That's stupid. Why would you put that in there? Highlight your mistake. I don't want to say no, but of course they don't count towards the runtime. So if there are bloopers, keep it proportionate to your video. If your video is 2 minutes, you realistically should not have more than like 10, 15 seconds of bloopers. So if you want to put them in there, put them in there. I think that's okay. Make sure they come after your credits. or even over your credits. Like if you want to close out your video and kind of go, hey, look, no one's perfect. This is me messing up while you're showing the edited by and shot by, like all that stuff. Like that could be cool too. So yeah, I guess if you want to do that, go for it. Matt's going to make the most dedicated video. I'm interested what Matt's going to choose though, but I guess that's half the fun. All right, you guys know what you're good at. Are there any other questions? I'm going to sit for a second because my back is going to explode. I even got this for Matt as well because I was learning new stuff about my program and finally figured out how to get overlays. So I can throw a SpongeBob in there. SpongeBob! You guys are a little bit quieter than normal. Surprised. Okay, well, if no one has any questions, all right, I'm going to wrap up our stream for the day. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'm hoping that we're walking out of this with our brain churning and we've got that creative juices flowing. We're already thinking about what we're going to do. All right, so everything that I went over today and showed today document-wise is posted on Classroom for you. The pre-production worksheet will be due at the end of class on Monday. So we'll still meet Monday to kind of go through that together, answer any questions, and, spend some time together. But then we kind of shift into our production and post-production modes where I'll still do streams just a little bit more sparingly. If you want to come, we can come. We can get some questions and answers, some WeVideo stuff. I can help you out with things there. That'll do it for today. So if you have a question pops in your head later tonight, shoot me an email. Enjoy your weekend, and I will talk to you and see you all on Monday. All right, gang. Adios.